Just want to thank everybody for coming. We're really excited to be hosting. So I'm talking about learning styles and being able to understand your learning style, the learning styles of those around you. I think it's really important. A little bit of background on me. I started my career working as the first hire at a really small design agency. I spent a lot of time alone. I was there a little over a year, and I left there not really knowing anything about my strengths, anything about my weaknesses, not understanding my preferences, and that was really hard, right? So moving into new jobs, my goal was to figure out exactly how I could perform the best and how I could perform well with others. And I joined Runkeeper. I worked on the iOS team there. I was on the brand partnership team, working with bigger companies like Spotify and A6 that eventually acquired us. And then I joined Drift 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, before we were even Drift, building this product. And this is where I kind of really was able to understand the value of understanding how I learned and being able to translate that into how I work with people. So what's a learning style? A learning style is an individual's unique approach to learning based on strengths, weaknesses, preferences. So we all learn a little bit differently. And it's really important to kind of harness that and like grab it by the horns and own it. So why are they important? Bunch of reasons. The first being that if we understand how we learn, we know how to give ourselves an edge, right? No one's going to hold our hands in this stupid journey of growing up and becoming an adult. So we really need to take ownership of our own growth. And no, it's fine. You can keep going. The second reason is we can make those around us more successful, right? So by understanding how we learn and understanding how our coworkers learn, we can adjust our communication style to reach those people in a better way. And when we do that, we build more efficient and successful and fun teams, which is very important. So there's a bunch of different learning frameworks. I'm going to talk about VARK because I think it's very straightforward. It stands for visual, audio, read, write, and kinesthetic. So you might already know your learning style. I hope you do. If not, you're going to learn about it. So visual. So I'm a designer. I like to think that this is me. So that's me. So visual, people that learn visual, right? Like we learn through visual aids. So that could mean providing graphs, diagrams, maps, flowchart. I like to work on a whiteboard. If you're working with somebody who knows a visual learner, the best way to collaborate with them is grab them, draw it on a whiteboard, right? Even if you're talking it out and doing other things in unison, like being able to have the act of drawing it is going to help that person absorb the conversation so much better. So that's visual. Auditory. And this includes two parts, right? So it includes listening, right? So group discussions, lectures, podcasts, audiobooks, but it also includes talking, right? And I think I also have a little bit of this in me. I don't know if anyone has coworkers that's like grabbing you and just be like, hey, like, can we talk this out real quick? Like, that is part of like the auditory. So when you're working with a person like this, the best way to talk through things is to physically open a group discussion, and you can expect to have a lot of things repeated back to you. So like when I'm working with any of my coworkers, they'll say something and then I need to repeat it back to them to make sure I'm matching how they communicated it to me so that it can really imprint to my brain. And the most successful way for me to learn is to have a pairing of that and also being able to draw things out on a whiteboard. So read, write. Everyone knows this person. This is a person that loves lists, enjoys Confluence, which I don't know anyone would, likes writing wiki posts. This is the person that breaks into sweats when you appear at their desk trying to talk something through in person. They much prefer notes or thoughtful emails written ahead. And my personal PM on the team that I work for loves writing wiki posts. He cranks them out, and it makes him feel really good when I communicate over comments with him, right? Because he can kind of think about it and respond. It's more formal than a chat, but he can read it and really understand and hold those words in his brain. The last one is kinesthetic. So this is a person that learns by doing, being hands-on. So this means understanding things through experiments or A/B testing, interviewing customers, case studies. Working with this person, you need to cite real data and real examples, otherwise nothing's going to hold water for them. So those are the 4 learning types. And let's circle back onto the things I talked about in the beginning, right? So how can I give myself an edge by knowing my learning type? So the first reason is you can seek out information in meetings you can best absorb. So right at Drift, for example, we have a book club. You can get it in audiobook. You can get a paperback. I order paperbacks and I highlight them. You can also get the Kindle version if you just prefer to read straight up. So there's plenty of ways to kind of go and like absorb the same information in the way that's going to suit you best. The next reason is you can help cue others to help yourself, right? So if someone gets into a really long conversation with me and I just kind of know that I'm going to tune out, I can say, let's just jump on a whiteboard real quick, and we can draw it out and I can get it instead of trying to understand what they're saying for 40 minutes. And the last thing is knowing these things help you leverage your own growth. So moving on, so that makes you feel less like this, more like this. And then how can I make those people around me more successful? So I'm going to tell a story about my coworker Alexa right here. So the first day Alexa came into our company, I had been working on onboarding for Drift for like 3 weeks. So it's her first day, and she's the new PM in charge of this thing. And I was like, I'm going to really impress her, and I printed out all of the slides for like this 30-step onboarding, and I was showing them to her, and I was like trying to drill her, like be like, give me an answer. And then she was just like, I don't know what you want from me. And I had to like slow down, and I had to ask like later, how do you learn best? And she was like, I need time to recruit, I want to read things. And I was like, okay, great. So the first thing you need to do to understand how your coworkers, you need to ask them how they prefer to be communicated with. And by doing that, they're going to tell you, you're able to tweak your communication style to how someone's going to absorb their information, right? Because if you're not able to communicate with somebody effectively, then you can't get your agenda done, you can't get, and it's pointless. And when you do this, you're a better communicator and you're more fun to collaborate with, which means you can start building a team around that. And the most effective teams are the teams that understand each other and can tweak the way that they prefer things to be done to help enable other people on their team. So that makes team meetings less like this and more like this. Which brings me to how do I find out what learning style I am? So you can go to VARC. This is me, live and visual. Not very surprised there. So it's a free quiz. And you can start there and you can figure out what your learning style is. But really to make this effective, I highly recommend this book. So this is Managing Oneself. It's like 120 pages. You can read it in 40 minutes. And once you know what your learning style is, this guy asks a lot of good questions that you can ask yourself, right? That inspires you to think about how you want to learn and grow as a professional. And he says this quote, which I love, acting on this knowledge is the key to performance, or rather, not acting on this knowledge condemns one to non-performance.